It's Thursday, March 12. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. The government is considering imposing travel restrictions for the United Kingdom following confirmation of the second imported case of the coronavirus COVID-19 from the country in 2 days. This from Prime Minister Andrew Holness as he addressed an emergency media briefing at Jamaica House on Wednesday.
The cabinet spent an extensive period of time discussing travel restrictions relating to the United Kingdom. The government is actively reviewing the extent of travel restrictions related to the United Kingdom. In short order, we should be saying some more on that.
The second case of the virus involved a United States Embassy employee who recently returned from the UK. On Tuesday, Jamaica confirmed the first case of COVID-19, which involved a female citizen who had arrived in Jamaica from the UK on March 4 to attend a funeral and presented to the public health system on March 9. The patient is currently in isolation at the University Hospital of the West Indies. In the meantime, the government has placed a ban on all social gatherings requiring permits.
Where the law requires the granting of a permit for any event or gathering, no permit will be issued within the next 14 days. So that means any event, any entertainment event, any gathering that requires the issuing of a permit, we will instruct the permitting authorities, the police and the municipal councils. Did I just touch my face? And the municipal councils. At least I'm conscious of it. I'm trying my best.
As for churches, funerals, weddings, and other social gatherings that do not require a permit, the Prime Minister is urging that discretion be exercised and that persons adhere to the necessary precautions that have been recommended to protect against the spread of the virus. The Prime Minister is also advising against non-essential travel and said that he will not be approving any such travel for members of the cabinet or the public sector. He also urged the public to remain calm.
The disease is not a death sentence. In the initial stage, the panic everybody will feel, but we are not saying that be careless and get the disease. That's not what we are saying. What we are saying is that if you follow the recommended procedures, it is highly likely that you will not get the disease. So the personal responsibility is very important.
Calling all passengers who traveled on British Airways BA Flight 2263 from the United Kingdom to Jamaica last week Wednesday, the government is asking you to contact the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
In terms of patient zero, that's what we term, that is the first person to have the infection. They traveled to Jamaica on BA 2263, and there would be many other persons on that flight. We think it is in the public's interest, and I'm going to give the date shortly, the 4th of March, that other persons who entered Jamaica on that flight be aware. And what we ask them to do is to self-identify. That means the number that is given by the Ministry of Health that they should call in to say, I am on the flight and I am okay. Or I am on the flight and I feel a little fluish. So that we are aware and they are aware. We, by virtue of the flight manifest, we will be seeking to make contact. Now we know that not all information given could be accurate. Some people may have made a mistake in their address and we can't reach out to them or find them. So it is important that they self-identify. Now, if it is that they are, they match the case profile or they have symptoms, the Ministry of Health will respond to them.
Okay, so the number we have now, 888-1-LOVE. You must remember One Love. ONELOVE. 888-1-LOVE.
The government has also improved emergency protocols to close schools if the need should arise as the country confronts COVID-19. Prime Minister Andrew Holness gave the details at a recent press conference.
Cabinet has approved protocols for the closure of schools. However, those protocols still need some further consultations. For example, we have the Minister of Education, Minister Samoud, and I'm correct in saying that, has held consultations with teachers and the regional staff and the central staff at the ministry. There are aspects to the plan which require, for example, we need to answer the question, how would children who have examinations coming up, PEP and CXC, how would we not disrupt their training and their tutoring? And therefore, we have some measures that we have put in place, for example, the use of public broadcasting, radio, and so forth. And we just need to do some fine-tuning in the consultation. That will be done over a period of 24 hours. But it is also important that we give some hint, some notice almost, because if we were to just abruptly close school, parents some of them would be in a quandary. How do we make provisions for the home care of children? So we are signaling, and I'm hoping that our parents will start to make the necessary preparations and be able to respond should it become necessary.
Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke said that the 2020-2021 budget represents the government's push to ease social inequality. One aspect of this, he said, was the provisions of the new Marcus Garvey Public Sector Graduate Scholarship Program. The government is investing $1 billion towards a program over 5 years. The institutions include the University of the West Indies, University of Technology, Oxford University, Harvard University, among others. The awardees will be required to work with the government for a minimum period after completing their studies.
Investing in our public sector with the largest postgraduate public sector scholarship program in Jamaica's history. And I don't know of anywhere, certainly in CARICOM, that has a similar program where 150 members of the public service will receive full scholarships to the best universities in the world for graduate studies in areas that are aligned with GOJ priorities and will come back and work for the government.
The minister said the budget also addressed the concerns of one of the country's most vulnerable groups, which is the elderly. A $1 billion safety net program has been created to benefit elderly persons who are not covered by existing schemes.
Something I'm very proud of and something that's dear to my heart, the introduction of a social pension for elderly Jamaicans, many of whom have worked all their life, but due to no fault of their own, were excluded from, well, are not in receipt of an NIS pension, don't qualify for a PATH grant. And this social pension is to recognize that need in our society and to address a long-standing structural inequity.
Aside from the social investments, Dr. Clarke highlighted priority items in the $835 billion budget for national security and infrastructure development.
A budget that invested in our physical infrastructure with $12 billion for the for the South Coast Highway and extension of the East-West Highway, and $3 billion for the Montego Bay bypass, in addition to funds to establish Emancipation Park in Western Jamaica, investing in our economic infrastructure with new programs to improve access to finance, the credit enhancement program from the Development Bank of Jamaica that has over $10 billion of confirmed capacity for MSMEs with $15 billion of available space left. In addition to invest in our national security infrastructure with plans to renovate over 40 police stations and purchase some $11 billion in equipment for security.
He also responded to questions about the $18 billion tax cut that he announced in his budget presentation on Tuesday.
I wanted to find an approach where everybody could benefit from that particular reduction. And there are only a few ways of achieving that. And in fact, I would say the GCT measure is the broadest measure by which that could be achieved. Income tax today is only paid by, I believe the number is 90,000 people or thereabouts. So it's a very narrow measure. And all other measures are narrow as well. The GCT is much broader. And as I said, the moral imperative, having raised $185 billion of taxes, and two, about to engage in a historic repayment of $73 billion of taxes, it's a moral imperative to return funds to the Jamaican people. And the best way to do that is in the broadest of measures, which is the GCT.
In a follow-up story, J. Ray and Nephew Limited's Spanish Town Road facility is open for business. Following an extensive sanitation exercise at its 234 Spanish Town Road facility, J. Ray and Nephew got clearance from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. The company closed its production hub Wednesday after a notification from a contractor at the site who was in close contact with Jamaica's first coronavirus patient. The Shipping Association of Jamaica, SAJ, is facilitating remote working for some members of staff in response to the positive case of coronavirus in Jamaica. The SAJ says a review of the policy will be conducted in another 2 weeks to determine its continuity. The SAJ said strategies are in place to ensure there is no disruption in the supply of goods and services. The House of Parliament wishes to inform the public that all tours of the Parliament by schools and other groups have been suspended until further notice. The public will be advised when these resume. The suspension is a precautionary measure in light of Jamaica's confirmed cases of coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19, and in adherence with guidelines issued by the Ministry of Health and Wellness regarding public gatherings. Teachers and students are being encouraged to download resources for students from Parliament's website, www.japarliament.gov.jm, and follow parliamentary proceedings through the following media: Public Broadcasting Corporation of Jamaica Cable Channel, PBCJ, Facebook page, YouTube channel, Jamaica Information Services website, and Houses of Parliament urges members of the public to take necessary precautions and follow the guidelines posted by the Ministry of Health and Wellness. A Canadian has been sentenced to 2 years in prison and fined $5 million Jamaican dollars on drug charges. Percival Joseph, the Canadian, was arrested on February 21 after attempting to smuggle 14 pounds of cocaine out of Jamaica via the Sangster International Airport in Montego Bay. Motorists should see a decrease at the pumps in the prices of gasoline and diesel effective Thursday, March 12. That's according to the latest ex-refinery costs from Pbcj. 87 and 90 octane gasoline will be sold for $124.73 and $127.57 per litre, respectively, down by $3.04 each. Automotive diesel will be sold for $123.28 per litre, following a decrease of $3.03, while ultra-low sulfur is down by $3.02 and will be sold for $128.11 per litre. Meanwhile, kerosene decreased in price by $3.05 and will be sold for $102.89 per litre. Propane liquid petroleum will be sold for $39.55 per litre, down by $2.21, and butane liquid petroleum will be sold for $45.70 per litre, after a decrease of $3.01. Do remember, marketing companies and retailers will add their respective markup to these prices. The US dollar is being traded at $135.71, up by 29 cents, according to the Bank of Jamaica's daily exchange trading summary. The summary also states that the Canadian dollar is being traded at $98.48, down from $99.62, while the British pound sterling is being traded at $176.32, down from $176.71. In Culinary Trails this week, we're back in Harborview. We hung out at Gilley's Street Side Restaurant and we tried out some grilled oysters.
I'm giving this one especially for all those girls outside here. You guys who haven't gotten the kids as yet, you can just visit Gilley. This is the baby shop. If you are planning on baby, you can be here. But also, we have the strength. You can get the strength if you don't want any baby. And you ladies, it's for you too also. My name is Gilley, and my establishment is Gilley Oysters Bar. Well, I serve them flat oysters, mussels, and cup oysters. I do it also roast.
And I also saw that you did a whole vegetable mixture. Tell me about that.
Oh, that's vegetable with conch. That's what everybody loves. The vegetable is cabbage, carrot, callaloo, pumpkin, Irish, and okra.
Where do you get your oysters?
Port Royal in the mangrove.
Do you buy them from the fishermen, or do you get them yourself?
I dive them myself.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, tell me about the process. Like, what time do you get up and get out there? And
Well,
how do you-
I can go. Over the years, I've established that I can go anytime. I get accustomed to the place that I can send even you and tell you where to go and find some. Search the areas where you find the more mature one. Leave the smaller one. That next week or next month you can come back and get those. Then I get out of the water, wash them, bag them, and then come home.
You were saying that you kind of pre-cook them before you get out here.
That's the conch. Yeah, what I do, I put the conch inside the pot in the shell, because with this process, it's much easier because the shell really pressure the meat. So I don't have a long time to wait like the other fellas who broke it, take it out, I have to beat it. I go through with an easier process by boiling it in the shell. So it's a softer process. Take it down here in the bucket and then I flick it out, wash him, cut him up, and that's it.
How long have you been selling out here, Gilley?
Roughly about 18 to 20 years now, while the customers are coming more and more.
Who's helping you out with the business?
Oh, it's a family thing. And I have some younger juniors that I'm bringing that I want to learn the trade too.
Would you say that it's a viable business? It's been profitable over the years?
Yeah, over the years, because it has helped me. I have 10 kids, and I can tell you the last 6 is after I begin doing this business. So it has helped me a lot. There's only one child now. She's 12 years old. So it's only she alone now leave.
Tell me about some of the health benefits. You are regaling me of how good it is. Oysters and conch.
I can boast on that. There's a lot of girls in that I've get youth. There's a lot of ladies who haven't got a baby, and when they are here, went through the process that I tell them, oh, kids just keep coming.
In regional news, Guyana announced its first case of the new coronavirus COVID-19 on Wednesday evening, a case resulting in the death of the patient. President David Granger of Guyana announced in a national address that a 52-year-old woman who had traveled home from New York had died at Georgetown Public Hospital. News source Guyana's Gordon Mosley has more.
The first case of the coronavirus in Guyana. The test carried out on samples from the body of a woman who died in the emergency room of the Georgetown Hospital this morning have confirmed that she was a victim of the coronavirus. Multiple sources at the hospital have confirmed this evening. The confirmation makes it the first recorded case of the virus in Guyana, and it came on the same day that government officials and stakeholders hosted a major symposium on the deadly virus. President David Granger is expected to make an address to the nation this evening on the matter. The Georgetown Hospital's emergency unit was put into lockdown early this morning after the woman died. She turned up at the hospital last night with respiratory and other symptoms linked to the coronavirus, but had no flu-like symptoms. During the lockdown this morning, the entire emergency unit was sanitized, and health officials were ordered to put on protective gear. It was only this morning, when the woman passed away, that her family members revealed that she had recently returned from New York, which has several reported cases of the coronavirus. Earlier today, health officials in Guyana spoke about the precautions against the virus.
This is a time for us to take stock of all that we are doing at health facilities, and we really want to partner with the community, with our the people we serve, particularly to try to avoid any kinds of inquisitiveness, crowding up, trying to see for yourself. They say sometimes we are a little bit too fast, and we try to get there when even danger exists. So these are not the times to do that, regardless of corona, but more so since we have this threat on our borders.
Guyana is now the 5th Caribbean country with a confirmed case of the coronavirus. Jamaica confirmed its 2nd case today.
Guyana's President David Granger addressed the nation on Wednesday after the country reported its first case and death caused by the novel coronavirus, or COVID-19.
The patient has been identified as a 52-year-old Guyanese female who had traveled from the United States of America, which has reported cases of COVID-19. She arrived in the country on the 5th of March, presented to the public health system on 10th of March, and was found to have uncontrolled diabetes and hypertension. She subsequently died at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation at 0800 hours on the 11th of March. Health professionals sought to conduct tests for COVID-19 based on the patient's travel history. A clinical sample was collected and sent at 10 hours on the 11th of March to the National Reference Laboratory, where laboratory tests confirmed the diagnosis at approximately 17 hours. The patient's infection is classified as an imported case.
Mr. Granger said that the government was instituting measures to combat the spread of the pandemic.
Measures are being taken to prevent the risk of community spread. These measures include dispatch of a health team to the home of the deceased for assessment and initiation of public health prevention measures, identification and contact tracing for all possible exposed persons, meeting of ministry officials with members of staff at the hospital and implementation of necessary interventions. Screening remains in place for those persons arriving from high-risk countries. 7 countries, Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Brazil, French Guyana, Panama, St. Vincent, and the United States of America, have been added to the list of 8. People's Republic of China, Italy, South Korea, Singapore, Japan, Thailand, Malaysia, and Iran that were previously made public. I advise further that public gatherings be discouraged, non-essential travel be discouraged. Competent agencies continue to patrol irregular border crossings and enhance sensitization of key personnel at all air and seaports is to continue.
The United Nations Health Agency on Wednesday appealed to Caribbean and other countries to double down on their efforts to stop the spread of COVID-19 after announcing that the global emergency can now be described as a pandemic. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres described the announcement as, quote, a call for action for everyone everywhere, end quote. Speaking in Geneva, World Health Organization director insisted that the fact that the term was being used did not mean that the virus had the upper hand.
There are now more than 118,000 cases in 114 countries, and 4,291 people have lost their lives. Thousands more are fighting for their lives in hospitals. In the days and weeks ahead, we expect to see the number of cases, the number of deaths, and the number of affected countries climb even higher. WHO has been assessing this outbreak around the clock, and we're deeply concerned both by the alarming levels of spread and severity and by the alarming levels of inaction. We have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
Despite this bleak forecast, the WHO Director General pointed out the vast majority of countries were still relatively untouched by COVID-19, which first surfaced in central China last December.
If countries detect, test, treat, isolate, trace, and mobilize their people in the response, those with a handful of cases can prevent those cases becoming clusters, and those clusters becoming community transmission.
In sports, athletics fans will be saddened to hear that this year's ISA Grace Kennedy's Boys and Girls Athletics Championships has been cancelled. Over $150 million in direct losses and hundreds of millions more in unfulfilled incidental earnings are expected. Confirmed cases of the deadly COVID-19 this week has led to the government's decision. Boys champs will be absent from the sporting calendar for the first time since 1944. This will be the 4th edition of Girls Champs to be scrapped since 1960. The hugely popular championships were merged in 1999. And there is good news in football as goals by Jordan Fletcher and Kemar Beckford carried Jamaica to a 2-0 win over Bermuda in their international friendly at the Montego Bay Sports Complex on Wednesday. Fletcher opened the scoring in the 42nd minute before Beckford added the second in the 80th minute. Despite the result, both coaches were pleased with the performances of their respective teams as they used the game to assess mostly home-based squads with an eye on the future. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thank you so much for watching. Do stay tuned. We are the People's Station.